Hello and welcome to the Trust Factor Podcast, the only podcast that guarantees your success when you implement its divine age-old teachings. Welcome to another episode of the Trust Factor Podcast. Thank you for joining. I want you to listen to this. Nachman of Breslev, he's the individual whose book we have the pleasure of reading from. He says that a person with Emunah, with faith in God, always lives a good life. It's a big, big statement. Always lives a good life. Even when life doesn't go according to the way that he would want it to. Even though life goes sideways on this individual. Even though he's faced with the same challenges that all of humanity face. The person with Emunah knows that since everything comes from the Creator, then everything is certainly for the best, as I've said many, many times. When you know that there is a God in heaven that loves you, infinitely more than anyone of flesh and blood could ever love you. And more than that he has the tools, the ability, and the desire to give you all of the things that you need to become amazingly successful. You stop worrying. When you know that he's there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you stop being miserable and you start being happy. But someone without Emunah is miserable. As soon as he has the slightest discomfort in life, he loses all his joy and his will to live, for his life becomes unbearable. He has nothing to console himself with, for he has no Emunah and no one to turn to. But with Emunah, his life is always good. Let's punctuate that, my friends. I live in Canada, and I want to discuss a little bit about what's been in the news lately that will help you give perspective on just how absolutely perfect, not just correct, what he said over here is, but how perfect it is. In Canada lately in the news, we've been talking about this program that we have over here called MAID. MAID, M-A-I-D, Medical Assistance in Dying. It's been legal for the government and doctors to enable you to commit euthanasia, to die on your own through doctors since 2016. Previous to 2016, it was never even a point of discussion. Now, for the last 10 years, not only has it been legal, but they have been promoting it, actively promoting it in the medical system. Where people come looking for a treatment, they are given an option of MAID. Just check out. It's enough with this world. You've suffered enough, and you're only going to suffer some more. And they convince these people quite easily to use MAID, to take the matter of death, which is always reserved for the one who also gave you life. They take that power and they put it into your hands to determine when you'd like to check out. Now, just so you understand, since 2016, there have been probably close to 100,000 people, not probably, for sure, 100,000 people, if not more, in Canada have died through MAID. How do I know this? Official figures since 2024, 2 years ago, put that number at over 75,000, 76,500 MAID deaths reported in Canada since 2016. The reason everybody's talking about it today is because a young guy of 26 years old with depression and diabetes managed to get into the system and kill himself. And his mother is trying to sue the medical system. The reason she's trying to sue the government and the medical system is because they have not yet allowed a condition of mental illness to fall under the category that would allow them to utilize MAID. But yet, despite that, they went ahead and executed this 26-year-old man, young man in the prime of his life, and the mother is beside herself. But they pushed it, and they continue to push it. But the point is that it is now the 5th leading cause of death in Canada. So you ask yourself, why do I need a Torah? Why do I need God to tell me what's good and what's bad, what I should and shouldn't do? Shouldn't I know that it's bad to kill yourself? Shouldn't we all know that? Shouldn't that just be a basic principle of life where we know that you're not allowed to kill, you're not allowed to kill yourself or others, you're not allowed to steal? You know, there's basic things in the 10 Commandments that people make the argument all the time that we should not be forced to learn Torah because every human being with warm blood knows that you're not supposed to kill and you're not supposed to steal and you're not supposed to commit adultery. But here clearly you see that given the opportunity, It's easily, just in the first 10 years of its existence, it's reached the 5th place in terms of the cause of death in Canada. First world country, my friends. Understand that, and more than that, if you think that this is people who've come from all over the world who are decrepit and who are broke and who don't have any opportunity, yada, 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 it's not true. Report just came out the other day that 98% of the people who've used MAID are white Canadians. White, old school Canadians. That's who's signing up for this. Multi-generational Canadians who've had infrastructure and support, family and friends, and who've been here their whole lives, cannot wait to check out. That, my friends, is the picture of somebody who lives without God, without the knowledge that there is a God who runs this world and that he loves you and that everything that he does is not only perfect, but it is for your very, very best. When you don't have that, you can't wait to check out, just like Rebbe Nachman says over here, very clearly, that somebody faces the smallest discomfort in life and he loses all of his joy. If that happens enough time, he loses his desire to live. That's what we're living through. We have to know that these are just tests, that these are from a loving creator, and that they are surmountable, that God knows what you can and cannot conquer, that he knows what's enough and what's not enough and what's too much. He knows, and it says very clearly that he doesn't give you tests that he knows you can't pass. Why would he do that? He's not masochistic. He doesn't want you to find the early checkout. He wants you to stick around and to want to stick around for a very long time and to continue to receive the good from him. Recognize, and once you have the eyes to see that it's all for your benefit, then you stop feeling despair. You stop feeling burnt out. You stop feeling broken down. It's not easy, guys. I get it. There's no silver bullet here. One has to work on themselves. And the challenge becomes, the longer you go through this life, not working on yourself, not building your Emunah muscle, not working on your prayer muscle, not figuring out that there's a creator here that's pulling all the strings, the harder it becomes for you to make room in your life for him. And you become despondent. You don't want to stick around anymore because you don't see a solution. I get that. Start working on your relationship with your creator right away. Start teaching your children at a very young age. Don't delay. There is no downside to knowing how this world runs, to having your finger on the pulse, you want a sense of control? That's it, my friends. There is no greater sense of control than knowing that you have the superpower of the universe at your back, that he's on your team. You want power, you want control, that's it. It's right there. Then all you need to do is start to ask, what do I need to do to utilize those strengths, to have him step up and do the things that I need to do? And we just said it the other day. All you need to do is make your will his will. And as soon as you do that, he'll make your will his will. And then things really start to tick for you guys. All these negative character traits that we talked about in season 1, all the difficulties and the challenges that come with life. And it is challenging, and it's challenging for a reason. We weren't brought here for a picnic. We weren't brought here for vacation. We weren't brought here to sit around and lounge and do absolutely nothing. That's a recipe for disaster. Somebody who sits alone in their room, waiting and doing absolutely nothing but passing time, it is the biggest recipe for disaster. We are social creatures. We need to get out. We need to interact with the world. We need to interact with each other. And we need to learn his Torah so that we do it properly. When you learn his Torah and you understand how you're supposed to conduct yourself and how you're supposed to interact with your fellow human beings, and you start to do it living that way, suddenly things start to work out for you. Suddenly the choices that you make start to be good ones. The reason you've been dealing with all of these difficulties and these tribulations and life becomes miserable because you're making a series of bad mistakes, of bad decisions that lead to you becoming more and more desperate. Guys, it's time to stop. It's a negative cycle. It's a chain that needs to be broken. And the way to break it is to do what you're doing now. Listen to the podcast. Listen to other good podcasts. that have quality information about your Creator and about your purpose in this world. Don't listen to the junk that's out there. Break the bad habits, especially the one around technology and listening to every single Tom, Dick, and Harry who wants to come out and tell you what their take on life is. All they want from you is to come in and listen and click and give them all of your attention, all of your time, to become addicted to the information. Stop. I know we're in an information age, but that information is burying you. The same way it did Adam and Eve. It brought this world into a state of destruction because they couldn't wait to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and bad. That was almost 6,000 years ago. We are committing the same sin today. Our constant demand and desire for information is what is holding us back. It is keeping us down. It's an anchor on every single one of us. The fact that we can't wait to pick up our phones in the morning to figure out what happened in some corner of the world that has absolutely no bearing on my ability to be a good person. It has none. It has no bearing on my ability to do His will and to make my life and the lives around me so much better. Remember that, my friends, every morning. Break that habit. Break that trend. We have to have a revolution when it comes to information technology and recognize that the only information that we need to be concerned with is what's happening in front of our noses, under our noses, with our wives, our husbands, our children, our parents, our community. If everybody did that and stopped focusing on the millions of things that are happening every millisecond around the world that have no bearing on their lives, we would be so much more accomplished and so much more fulfilled. Have an amazing day, my friends. Thank you for spending time with us on the Trust Factor podcast. If you've heard something today that moved you, save this episode and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss upcoming conversations that challenge, empower, and uplift. And if you're on social media, connect with us. Leave your thoughts. Drop a quote that resonated with you. Hashtag the Trust Factor podcast. Until next time, keep growing in your trust and keep living with purpose. I'm Jesse Revivo, and this has been the Trust Factor podcast. Thanks for listening.